Welcome. And is there any specific topics that you guys want to go over today? Feel free to just put in the chat or say it out loud. Chat. Okay. These are the various topics. Anywhere specific that areas that you guys want to focus on? Financing? All right. Okay, we'll get the hard stuff out of the way. So financing. Gray purchases a home from Black. Gray will pay $700 a month and a balloon payment and title transfer will take place in 5 years. This is a MRIzed loan. B, purchase money mortgage. C, contract of deed, or D, blanket mortgage. And a balloon payment is a final lump sum payment at the end of a loan, term to pay off the entire remaining balance of principal and interest not covered by payment during the loan term. Feel free to say the guesses out or your best answer out loud or in the chat. So, take place in 5 years. Any guesses? All right, D. Oh, that was a great guess. That was actually what I was going to say too. So the correct answer is contract for deed. So a land contract, which is also known as a contract for deed, is a purchase in which title transfer takes place when the entire purchase price is paid. Oh yeah, this was a tricky one. So then a blanket mortgage covers more than one parcel of land. A purchase money mortgage is when sellers transfers legal title and becomes the mortgagee. And an amortized loan is one where the principal and interest are paid by the end of the loan. That was a tough one. So definitely know that a land contract is also considered a contract for deed. We'll also put the question in there for the right answer. The rate of mills for Columbus is 97 and the assessment level for the community is 35%. For property with value of 280,000, what will the annual taxes be? A, 6,500, B, 12,000, C, 21,160, or D, 9,506. So, right, any guesses? Or best answer? Oh, these are two tough questions to start off with that. Did I get the B? So the correct answer is going to be D. All right, so we know a mil is 1,000. So the assessed value, 1 mil divided by 1,000, so it's 0.001. And then the actual mils times the rate of mils. So it'd be 280,000 times 0.35. And then that equals 98,000. And then you divide that by 1,000, which will then equal 98. And then 98 times 97, which is the rate of mils for Columbus, that will get you 9,506. Put the question and answer in to show you the breakdown. And just making sure you do that in the correct order definitely makes a difference in your answer. All right. If the price of carpeting is $19 per square yard, how much will it cost to carpet a room that is 15 by 15 feet? That can be A, 4,275, B, 750, C, 1,100, or D, 475. Price of carpeting is $19 per square yard. How much will it cost to carpet a room that is 15 by 15 feet? Don't be afraid to guess. These are all of it's meant for learning purposes, so I'm even stumped on lots of these. This is hard. C? Okay. Oh, I was gonna say C too. Huh. So we get 15 times 15 is gonna be 225 square feet. Then you divide the square feet by 9 to get square yards. Got it. And then 225 divided by 9 equals 25 square yards, which then is 25 times that $19 per square yard. And that gets you $475. Okay, that was tough. That was a great guess, though. Okay. A clause used in a mortgage allowing the lender to call for the full payment of the mortgage because the owner transferred ownership of the property to a third party is known as the blank clause. Is known as the A, alienation clause, B, appreciation clause, C, prepayment clause, or D, hypothecation clause. So a clause used in a mortgage allowing the lender to call for the full payment of the mortgage because the owner transferred ownership of the property to a third party is known as the blank clause. All right, D. Oh, that was a good guess. So the correct is going to be alienation clause. So the alienation clause is that due on sale clause. So if you see due on sale, that equals alienation clause. And that causes the mortgage to become due when the property is transferred. The hypothecation clause pledges the property for repayment of the debt, and then there's no such thing as an appreciation clause in mortgage, and a prepayment penalty clause allows the lender to charge a penalty for early payment. Actually, they're tricky. Okay, that is the question, and then this is your answer. So alienation clause is going to be also known as due on sale clause. That would definitely be on the exam. Okay, which federal statute requires a lender to give a borrower a statement of total interest being paid over the life of a loan? So is that going to be A, Federal Fair Housing Act, B, Equal Credit Opportunity Act, C, Fair Credit Reporting Act, or D, Regulation Z? So which federal statute requires a lender to give a borrower a statement of total interest being paid over the life of a loan? Right, we got D. Right, good job. Yay, D. The Regulation Z of the Truth in Lending Act requires the lender to disclose all costs of obtaining a loan, including the interest rate, cost of payments over the life of the loan, and more. And then the Equal Credit Opportunity Act requires equal credit opportunity be given to persons regardless of race, religion, sex, etc. Then the Fair Credit Reporting Act requires that a creditor truthfully record credit remarks on an individual's credit report. So Fair Credit Reporting Act and credit report, pair those. The equal credit opportunity is basically everyone's equal. So then you kind of know that that's going to be about race, religion, sex. Then the Fair Housing Act makes it illegal for people to be denied housing based on their race, religion, sex, familial status, etc. So definitely knowing the difference between each one of these is going to be very helpful on the exam. All right, good job. Next question. The primary function of the secondary mortgage market includes all of the following except A, buy real estate mortgages, B, provide greater liquidity for mortgages, C, make loans directly to the public, or D, sell real estate mortgages. So the primary function of secondary mortgage market includes all of the following except. Which one does it not include? C? Good job. So secondary mortgage markets are the private investors and government agencies that both buy and sell real estate mortgages. Good job. And so they don't make loans directly to the public. Cool. Which class of individuals is protected under the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, but not under the Federal Fair Housing Act? Actually, I think I know there's an, is that gonna be A, ancestry, B, sex, C, marital status, or D, familial status? Right, we have A and D. Tricky. So which one is not under the Federal Fair Housing Act? We have two people that said A. So it's actually C. I forget, there should be an acronym for this, but while marital status is not protected under the Federal Fair Housing Act, it is protected under the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. So sex and familial status are under both acts, and then ancestry is protected under neither acts. So ancestry is not a thing in either of the acts. So they made that super tricky. But then the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, marital status is protected where it's not protected in Federal Fair Housing Act. All right. These are tricky. So which class is protected under the equal, did we not just have? So which class is protected under the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, but is not protected under the Federal Fair Housing Act? A, familial status, B, marital status, C, sex, or D, race? All right. Good job, guys. Correct. Cool. Okay, so the seller must have 140K to pay off a mortgage of 15,000 for a vacation, 15,000 in closing costs, and the broker fee of 7%. How much must the property sell for? Is that going to be $175,250, $179,181.50, $182, $182,795.70, or $181,850. Okay, so this is the seller. Oh, sorry, I chose an answer. The seller must have 140K to pay off a mortgage, 15,000 for a vacation, and 15,000 in closing costs, and the broker fee of 7%. How much must the property sell for? I'm sorry, did not select an answer. So let's do the math. Right, good job, guys. Okay, so I accidentally clicked, and that is correct. So you first want to add up the 140 plus the 15 plus the 15, and then you get 170K. And then out of 100%, the seller promised the broker 7%. So then you do 100% minus 7%, which is 93%. So 170 divided by 0.93 gives you $182,795.70. Good job. You guys did that fast. The Fair Credit Reporting Act gives a borrower which right? A, the name of anyone who has received a copy of the borrower's report in the last 6 months. B, right to a free copy of their credit reports if they have been denied credit due to the information in them. C, right to dispute inaccuracies in the credit reports. Or D, all of the answers listed. D, correct. So it includes all of them, all of these above. Oh, cool. Good job. Oh, that was a tough section. We could always come back to this, but we'll pop in a different topic and then we can always go back to financing. All right. Is there another category that you guys want to focus on? Before you put in the chat, say it out loud. Okay, transfer of title. So next week I could start and do everything at once. It's just a longer exam. So let's see how many questions. So this exam has 42 questions, so it takes about an hour to complete. So next week we can go ahead and just jump right in and do a pre-assessment exam. Cool. That's a great idea. All right, but what? Okay, transfer of title, which is not essential to a general warranty deed for real estate. A, signature of the buyer. B, covenant of season. C, signature of the seller. Or D, legal description of real estate. So which is not essential to a general warranty deed for real estate? And a deed is a written instrument transferring the grantor's ownership of interest in real property. Okay, we have A. Good job. So only the seller needs to sign the general warranty deed for real estate. The covenant of season in a general warranty states that the seller is the owner of the property and has the right to transfer, and the deed must contain a legal description so that the property can be being transferred can be found. And when it says legal description, they're talking about either meets and bounds, government rectangular, lot and block, parcel number. Good job. A buyer is required to pay which closing costs? A, transfer tax. B, title insurance. C, real property transfer fee. Or D, conveyance fee. Right. Title insurance? You are correct. So the conveyance fee, transfer tax, and real property transfer fee are all the same thing, which they're super tricky doing that. And the seller would pay the tax for selling the property, and the buyer buys their own title insurance. Good job. So the buyer is going to be normally the one who chooses which title company to work with. So since they choose the title company, they pay the title insurance. They're the people who are, buyers are the ones wiring the funds. So that's a good way to look at that. Upon the completion of real estate transaction, a comprehensive accounting of all funds must be approved by the buyer and seller. The accounting is called A, statement of APR, B, settlement statement, C, transfer and sale statement, or D, full disclosure statement. Question. So upon the completion of a real estate sales transaction, a comprehensive accounting of all funds must be approved by the buyer and seller. This accounting is called a statement of APR. And it is settlement statement. Oh, that's tricky. So this is called settlement statement, and in federal related transactions will be also known as the closing statement form. A statement of APR is when a lender, per the Truth in Lending Act, gives the buyer a disclosure of annual percentage rate of interest, which expresses the rate of interest plus the cost of the loan in terms of percentage. Oh, that was tricky. So upon the completion of a real estate sales transaction, you will then receive a closing statement or a settlement statement of all the breakdown of all of your fees. Whereas the APR comes prior. Well, all right. The sources of law that affect real estate transaction and activity are A, all of the answers listed, B, state and federal legislation, C, court decisions, or D, local ordinances passed by towns, cities, and villages. So the sources of law that affect real estate transaction and activity are right, A, correct. So all of these sources affect real estate transactions. Title is best defined as ownership of land, or A, ownership of land, B, insurance that guarantees one owns the property, C, a document transferring a grantor's interest in real property, or D, a leasehold estate. So title is best defined as so ownership of land. Oh, I was gonna guess C as well. Title means ownership. Let's know. A grantor's interest in real property is transferred by a deed. Okay. So then title insurance will guarantee one owns the property or has title, but it is not the title itself. And a leasehold estate is the interest in real property that conveys only the right of possession, but not title. Okay, so title is going to be ownership. Whether it be title or ownership of land, ownership of real estate, title is best defined as ownership. Okay, well, that was only 5 questions long. Cool. So, what category would you guys like to do next? Should we do financing again? Or, all right, land use. Cool. Perfect. Roger obtains a deed from Vince that states Roger is not allowed to put a fence around his front yard. This clause in the deed is referred to as a restriction, B, eminent domain, C, covenant, or D, fee simple absolute. So Roger obtains a deed from Vince that states Roger is not allowed to put a fence around his front yard. This clause in the deed is referred to as a restriction, eminent domain, covenant, fee simple absolute. Right. A, correct. So covenant is a promise that runs with the property forever in a general warranty deed. Eminent domain is the right of the government to take private property for public use. And a restriction is a clause placed in a deed by a grantor, which restricts their grantee's use of the property. And then the fee simple absolute is going to be absolute ownership without any restrictions. Good job. So if there's ever a question like this and they could have the property, but they can't do this, or they can't make it this, it's going to be a restriction clause. All right. Which must a real estate agent give a potential buyer or tenant of residential property built before 1978? Is that going to be A, pamphlet called Protect Your Family from Lead in the Home? B, occupancy permits? C, pamphlet called Protect Your Family from Lead in the Home and the lead-based paint disclosure? Or D, the Landlord Tenants Act of 1974? And you guys are going to be using this a lot when you are a real estate agent. All right, see, that is correct. So any residential unit built before 1978 will require both the lead paint disclosure and the pamphlet that says protect your family from lead in the home. Good job. Cool. A commercial developer purchased an old gas station on the corner of Main Street and Vine. After the buyer receives the deed to the property, they begin planning the construction of an office building. Upon discovery of underground storage tanks, which must the owner do before they build his office building? Must they A, fill the tanks with sand, B, remove the tanks, test the soil, remove toxic waste, and refill and retest the site for contamination, C, sue the previous owner for not disclosing the presence of tanks, or D, put up a warning on the new building about the underground tanks? Right. B, and B is correct. So it wouldn't be sue the previous owner because the previous owner would have never known that there were tanks underneath there until the new commercial developer started digging there. So the owner may have a case against the previous owner, however, that is important only to the owner. Federal law requires the owner to remove the tanks, have the soil tested, remove and dispose of toxic waste, fill with good soil, and retest the site. After all those steps are completed, the owner can improve the lot with an office building and the approval of zoning authority. All right, good job. Hopefully we don't run in to any tanks in the ground, underground tanks. Okay. Alfred and Allie buy a 10-year-old home and have it tested for radon prior to closing. The test results in an average reading of 4.8. Under federal law, is the seller required to mitigate the home? The test results in an average reading of 4.8 PCI-L. Under federal law, is the seller required to mitigate the home? A, yes, federal law dictates mitigation over 40. No, mitigation must be performed by the buyer. C, no, unless agreed upon in contract between buyer and seller. Or D, yes, federal law and state law dictate mitigation. Oh, this is tricky. Right, we have D and C as our guesses. All right. We have two D's. Let's see. Oh, it is C. There is no federal law regarding radon mitigation. So the federal government recommends mitigation on houses that test 4.0 or higher. However, the buyer and seller in the contract could agree to whatever guidelines they wish. Yeah, that was a hard one. I didn't know that 4.0 is what they base it off of. All right, good job, guys. So a tax levy on real property for government improvements is known as A, flat rate tax, B, ad valorem tax, C, tax based on the value of the property, or D, special assessment tax. So a tax levy on real property for government improvements, such as curbs, sewers, and sidewalks, is known as flat rate tax, ad valorem tax, tax based on the value of the property, or special assessment tax. All right, good job, guys. Correct answer is D. And this is super helpful to know also when you as a real estate agent because your tax may be higher due to an improvement of maybe adding in sidewalks where there wasn't before, or changing from septic to sewer, to public sewer. So this definitely does come into play. All right, good job. Oh, these are quick well tests. All right. What topic should we do next? Feel free to say out loud, write in the chat. All right, disclosures. Okay. Property ownership. Okay, we'll do property ownership after disclosures. Sounds good. What was the primary reason asbestos was used prior to our knowledge of the health risk? A, repelled common pests, B, water resistant, C, fire resistant, or D, none of the answers given. So what was the primary reason asbestos was used prior to our knowledge of health risk? And asbestos are a fibrous material that was once very common in building materials because of its insulating and heat resistance value. All right. Good job. So asbestos is, again, with the definition, fibrous material that was once very common in building materials because of its insulating and heat resistance value. All right. Which best describes an allergen? A, the capacity of bases to neutralize acids. B, the condition of water or soil which contains a sufficient amount of alkali substance to raise the pH above 70. C, relating to and or sand deposited by flowing water. Or D, a substance that contains an allergic reaction in individuals sensitive to it. So which best describes an allergen? D, and D is correct. The capacity of bases to neutralize acids is alkalinity. Gosh, I don't even know how to say that word. The condition of water or soil which contains a sufficient amount of alkali substance to raise pH above 7.0 is called alkaline. The term alluvial relates to and or sand deposited by flowing water. And then allergen is a substance that causes allergic reaction to individuals sensitive to it. Wow, I don't remember any of the first three being on the exam. Okay, a seller completes a property disclosure form and states that there are no conditions in the property in needs of repair. However, the listing agent or the listing sales agent recognizes the early signs of termite infestation. The listing sales agent should A, disclose this condition to the buyer as it is a latent defect. B, tell the seller to amend the property disclosure statement. C, disclose the condition to the buyer as this is a patent defect. Or D, not tell the buyer and rely on the seller's statement in the property disclosure form. All right, so A and B is our guesses. Right. Another guesses? A or B? Okay. So it is C. Disclose the condition to the buyer as a patent defect. So patent defect would be what would be discovered by a reasonably thorough inspection. So the sales agent should disclose the condition to the buyer as this is a patent defect and would be discovered by a reasonably thorough inspection. A latent defect is a fault in the property that could not have been discovered by reasonably through inspection before the sale. And then there is no duty to amend a property disclosure form once it has been given. And the agent should not rely upon the seller's representation or this case misrepresentation as a shield of liability for non-disclosure. Well, that's good to know. So it's going to be disclose the condition to the buyer as this is a patent defect. And patent is something that the inspector or you can see. And the latent is going to be something that you would not be able to see. And definitely knowing the difference between those. Ecology is best defined as the effect a man caused or natural activity has on living organisms and their non-living environment. B, the relationship of living things to one another and their environment. C, exposure of non-human organisms to a stressor. Or D, maintenance of ecosystem components and functions for future generations. So ecology is best defined as. Right, B. And B is correct. Now this is an odd question, but relating it to real estate and why they're asking it. So the relationship of living things to one another and their environment kind of relates to like obviously the property, environment, living things in a relationship with them. So kind of narrowing down your questions will help with, or narrowing down your answers will help with then answering. Process of elimination. All right, home warranty programs, which typically cover such as things as plumbing, electrical, heating, and air conditioning systems and appliances are A, only recommended if a seller does not provide a property condition disclosure statement. B, always provided and paid for by the seller when property is listed in multiple listing service. C, optional programs purchased by buyers or sellers that include specified coverages, deductibles, limitations, and exclusions. Or D, required if a buyer is securing a federal-related mortgage loan. And this will be good to know, obviously, once you guys have your real estate license, what the home warranties cover. Right. C? And C is correct. So some sellers will provide this, or if they don't provide it, a lot of buyers will then want to purchase it. And they do come at various prices. You can have it for 1 year, 2 year, and this will be something you could present to your buyers or sellers. It's enticing when the seller does provide it with their listing, but since it's a seller's market, not many listings provided at this time. All right, next question. A listing agent is showing a buyer a home. The buyer sees a large crack in the wall that is seeping water. The buyer buys the property and later sues the agent for non-disclosure of a property defect. The agent A is not liable under the doctrine of caveat emptor, buyer beware. B should have instructed the sellers to hide the defect behind paneling or boxes. C should have fixed the crack prior to showing the property. Or D is liable for damages because they did not tell the buyer about the crack. Okay. Oh, and Cheryl, I see you have your hand raised. Do you have a question?
Yeah, it was about the last question about the warranty, the home warranty. So say like the seller purchases the warranty for like a year. And just for an example, like the buyer doesn't like the home warranty company, they know things about it, blah, 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 whatever. Can they then maybe like ask them to change the warranty company, or have you ever seen that?
That's a good question. I'm not sure it like depending on I guess like the other like if the listing brokerage involved is more lenient with like okay, so we for Keller Williams we're paired with America's Preferred Home Warranty, but I know that like Howard Hanna probably uses someone else. Definitely just asking the question uh for the sellers and the listing agent to see if they would use a different home warranty company, and at the end of the day it could like save them money. Or if your buyers were like, hey, I've heard terrible things about this home warranty company, I just want to purchase my own, that could also be an option. But yeah, that's a good question. I'll definitely ask if agents in our office if they ever ran into that situation.
Yeah, I mean, I guess anything can be written into the agreement or changed or what, what have you.
Mhm.
Curious if
Yeah,
you've come across that.
definitely. Yeah, I have not. That's a good question. I guess like we just use America's Preferred Home Warranty, so
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay,
so
well,
I just see that's
thank you.
yeah.
Thanks.
Sure thing. All right. So got A, and that is correct. So is not reliable on the doctrine of caveat emptor, which means buyers beware. And the agent is under no duty to disclose a patent defect. A latent or hidden defect must be disclosed. And the term caveat emptor refers to let the buyer beware. And the buyer should be aware of things they can readily see. Obviously, the sales agent would not want to hide this condition, as that would make the patent defect into a latent defect. So if one person can see it, then they assume that everyone else can see it. All right. The flat or nearly flat land along a river or stream covered by water during a flood is called A, a floodplain, B, fossil fuel, C, fluoridation, or D, flume. So the flat or nearly flat land along a river or stream covered by water during a flood is called a floodplain, and that is correct. All right. Good job. Which of the following could be made available to a buyer to indicate that a property owner had authorization to make any alterations or additions to the property and that work was done to applicable standards? A, plans and specifications prepared by a registered architect. B, a building permit and certificate of occupancy issued by the municipal government. C, a home report prepared by a professional home inspector. Or D, receipts and work orders from contractors who perform the work. So which of the following could be made available to a buyer to indicate that a property owner had authorization to make an alterations or additions to the property and that the work was done to applicable standards? Okay. I'm gonna give you two good answers. So D and B are both good answers. And so the most common one we'll be using is gonna get, oh wow, it is B. Oh, this is tricky. So good job. So most municipalities have enacted ordinances to specify standards regarding materials and workmanship when working on a property. These building codes require issuance of permits and require inspections. Architects do not authorize work and home inspectors are not code enforcement officers. All right, this is tricky. So for specific cities, or municipalities have specific permits they need to get from the city in order to do any work or additions to the property. So yeah, just breaking down the question, now that I'm reading through it, each city may have a different requirement to do a different addition, or like some have requirements on what the driveway should look like and things like that. So buyers are able to pull that from city records. All right. Which of the following would a broker representing a seller require to disclose an unrepresented buyer? A, the type of listing contract that exists between the seller and the broker. B, a latent defect known to the seller and broker regarding condition of the property. C, the lowest price the seller has indicated that they will consider. Or D, the fact that a previous owner or occupant died of AIDS or was HIV positive. So which of the following would a broker representing a seller require to disclose to an unrepresented buyer? All right, good job, guys. All right, B. And B is correct. Good job. All right, which term best describes any substance that can cause or aggravate cancer? A, carbon tetrachloride. B, carcinogen. C, catalyst. Or D, carbon monoxide. B, and that is correct. All right, good job. Cool, and we'll squeeze in one last little practice test. And I think we want property ownership. Cool, let's pop in here. All right. Which type of legal description would a new residential sub-developer most likely use? So a new residential sub-developer most likely would use an A, government rectangular survey, B, meets and bounds, C, sections and townships, or D, lot and block. Gosh, I remember having this on my exam, but now I'm second guessing my answer. Which type of legal description would a new residential sub-developer most likely use? Guesses? Right, C and B. All right. Okay, so it is D, lot and block. Good job. Yeah, this is a tough one. So, just trying to picture when you're looking at a new subdivision, selling off the parcel of land. So they first divide into various lots. And then if there's various streets, blocks. So just kind of like imagining what their drawings and maps look like will help answer this question. And most states have laws that require the use of lot and block method to describe real property if newly created parcels are smaller than the minimum required by statute. So an example of lot and block description is as follows, being properly described as the lot number 16 of Norwich Lake Estates subdivision located in the state of Texas, county of Wichita. Okay. So in order to sell that property, they have to have the legal description of the lot number, what the name of the subdivision is, the state, and the county.
Also, government rectangular service and the other one, which was like the section and township, they're the same thing. So you can just put it down between meets and bottom, lot and block.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's great advice. Good call. Yes, and that's another way they trick you. So definitely knowing the AKAs, the also known as, will definitely help eliminate answers. Yeah, good point. Sorry, he passed the question.
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, do you mind repeating that?
Yeah. So government rectangular service, and the survey and the sections and township, they're referred as the same thing. So when you see like townships and sections, it's always like the answer is always like government rectangular survey. So they're the same thing. If they're in the question itself, I mean in the answer, they mean the same thing. Does that
Oh.
make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Narrow it down to okay, now is meat and buns or lot and block.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. All right. So a legal description of property based on lines of longitude and latitude, townships and sections is described as A, government rectangular survey, B, meets and bounds, C, lot and block, or D, recorded plat of subdivision. All right, so just as Carolyn said, towns and sections equals rectangular or government rectangular survey. Good job, predicted the next question. All right, so a lien filed for the sole purpose of preventing a transfer of property pending the outcome of litigation is called A, lease pendant, B, judgment lien, C, tax lien, or D, mechanics lien. So a lien filed for the sole purpose of preventing a transfer of property pending the outcome of litigation is called A. Oh, actually, I thought it was judgment lien as well. So a lis pendens is record notice stating a lawsuit is pending that may affect title to the defendant's property. A tax lien is placed on property to secure the payment's taxes. Mechanics lien is filed to assure payment for materials and labor expended on the property, and then a judgment lien is filed to secure payment of confirmed debt. Oh yeah, that was a tricky one. All right. With regard to real estate, accretion refers to which process? A, gradual building up of the property. B, silts suspended in water. C, gradual wearing away of the property. Or D, method of evaluating property according to its value. So what is the definition of accretion? Right, C. And it is A. So it's going to be the gradual buildup. So when you think of accretion, think of adding. So accretion is the building up of property through natural processes. Then erosion is going to be erasing, so gradual wearing away of property. Alluvium is the term that's silt suspended in water. And then C is referring to ad valorem, which is according to evaluation. No worries. So accretion is going to be building up and adding, and then erosion is going to be erasing or gradual wearing away. So kind of how you would look at those two. Okay, so a commercial tenant offers a bank. So a commercial tenant offers a bank their showcase furniture, paintings, and other items that they have placed in the rental property. In favor of the bank, the tenant would execute A, leasehold estate, B, mortgage, C, easement, or D, chattel mortgage. D, chattel mortgage is correct. Good job. So a chattel mortgage creates a lien on personal property. So for example, hair salon will have chairs, places to dry your hair and things like that. That would be all an example of chattel, which then would require chattel mortgage. All right. Which is necessary to create an easement by prescription? A, open and notorious use of the land. B, constant regular use of the land for the stated prescription of years. C, all the answers listed, or D, hostile and adverse use of the land. So which is necessary to create an easement by prescription? That's it. So B. Oh, all right. So the correct answer, all of them listed. I was also going to say B. So each of the elements listed is required to obtain an easement by prescription. Absent of any of these, the claim for an easement by prescription will fail. So everything listed is necessary for the easement by prescription. So open and notorious use of land, constant regular use of the land for the stated prescription of years, and then hostile and adverse use of the land are all required to create an easement of prescription. That was tricky. Okay. When a firm is not paid after furnishing material for the construction of an apartment building, the firm may file a estoppel certificate, B, mechanics lien, C, writ of liability, or D, deficiency judgment. Right, I was quick to answer. Good job. That's gonna be B, mechanics lien. All right. Which type of description is inadequate for describing property in a deed? A, the rectangular survey description, B, lot number, C, house number, D, meets and bounds description. So which is inadequate for describing property in a deed? That's right. C, house number is correct. Got tricky with that one, but the house number is not adequate when it comes to describing property in a deed. Okay. So the addition of soil to property by gradual operation of natural causes is termed A, accretion, D, ad valorem, C, erosion, or B, ad valorem, or D, alluvium. We just had this with one of the addition of soil to property by gradual operation of natural causes. So when you're adding of soil, all right, good job. So adding of soil is accretion. And then erasing or wearing away of natural causes can be erosion. Pretty much center that. Okay. How many acres are in a government rectangular survey that consists of the southwest 1-4, northeast 1-4, and northwest 1-4 of section 13, the London Township? Oh, I used to love trying to calculate these, but now I forget what the get the oh We have D as a guess. Right. D, and that is correct. Okay. Oh, thank you for doing that. So a quarter of a section has 160 acres, a quarter of a quarter has 40 acres, and a quarter of a quarter of a quarter would have 10 acres. The formula would be worked out can be worked out two ways. 640 divided by 4 divided by 4 divided by 4 equals 10, or 4 times 4 times 4 equals 64, and 640 divided by 64 equals 10. All right, good job. When you know the formula, these are kind of fun to do. All right, well, thanks so much for joining tonight, guys. I will next week, feel free to remind me, but next week we'll pop in and just start doing the practice exam right away, which has all the questions. That way you can get it done within the hour. Well, and then I don't know if anybody, so I'll also add in my little study guide. I think I saved it to my desktop so you guys can reference it when I was taking my exam. Hopefully it's helpful. Just another cool thing to use as study guide. Well, all right, thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your night.